I'm waiting for the ayahuasca to kick in. You start with a meditation, you have shamans. It's very ceremonial, very ritualistic. There's live music, and it's a very intimate setting. You have 3 shamans, you had the staff, and there are about 9 participants, myself included. Once you take the ayahuasca, it varies. It could take 30 minutes, it can take an hour before it affects.
Mm-hmm.
It took me about 45 minutes, and that's after 2 shots. So first shot after 30 minutes, don't feel much of anything. Think of it like a little espresso shot.
Okay.
Didn't feel much of anything. Second shot, I take it. All of a sudden, I hear a voice in my head. Because that's one of my spiritual gifts. I'm very clairaudient.
Okay.
So I hear voices. Okay. So that's part of the gift as it relates to mediumship, to hearing different things.
Welcome to the On Par podcast from the Winners Award Group's showroom here in Coconut Creek. And I've got a good friend of mine, Denise Perez, here today. Thank you for coming, Denise.
And thank you for having me, Drew.
And Denise, I told a couple of the friends of ours in 6 Degrees where we originally met that you were coming on the podcast. And you know what the first thing they all said?
What?
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So you're hyped up big time.
Most definitely.
And you have to bring your A game today. So,
Always.
I want to start with golf because it is the On Par podcast.
Absolutely.
One of the coolest things about you is you play golf in cowboy boots. So you have to tell, and barefoot.
Yes.
So tell us about,
depending on the mood.
Tell us about the cowboy boots and how that started and why you wear cowboy boots on the golf course. Because I think it's unique, it's cool, it's different.
Absolutely.
Explain.
All right. It was actually a transition, like you said. I used to Sam Sneed it, barefoot before I started branching into the cowboy boots. It all started pair of cleats that ripped.
Okay.
And
were they Nikes? Because I made fun of my Nike shoes.
You know what? It's interesting that they were Nikes.
Oh, there it goes. There goes one more.
Your theory's correct.
There goes one more potential sponsor. Sorry, Nike's out.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Nike, but anyway, neither here nor there.
Yeah,
so they ripped, and I was just a few holes in, and I said, I will not let this stop me. So I figured, you know what? I took off my my socks. And the rest of the 15 rounds, 16 rounds, I played barefoot.
Okay.
And then eventually there were some clubs that would comment about the barefoot. So I made it a point to look in, albeit loosely, into the guidelines or and the rule book. Okay. It's not as if let the folks know, it's not as if I'm wearing like hard sole cowboy boots. What I actually wear are a pair of Ariots. They're called Fat Baby.
Okay.
And they're utility boots, and I wear them on the course. And interestingly enough, they do give me a lot of ankle support. I tell you, it actually I enjoy playing with them. And when I play barefoot, as far as the topography on the course, as I like to say, I become one with the course.
There you go. And speaking of becoming one with things, you've had some interesting experiences that I'd really love for you to share the story, because I think last time we had breakfast together, I said something like, hey, listen, don't give me too much more. Just save it for when you come on the podcast.
Absolutely. So, as they say in sales, don't spill the candy in the lobby.
There you go.
There
you go. You can hype it up ahead of time and get people wanting to see it and hear it, but you don't want to give away, everything. So I wanted to kind of have a more natural, tell me the stories now that we're actually on the podcast.
Absolutely. Well, I'll start before I dive into one of my most recent magical experiences over in Peru, and what brought me to traveling to Peru. I'll just give you just 2-minute backstory. I was raised very religious. Okay. I'm not going to go into which religion.
Okay.
But it was just a very different mentality than what I am accustomed to now.
Very strict religion.
Very strict religion.
Okay.
So I left the religion at the early age of like 22, 23.
Mm-hmm.
I started leaning towards agnosticism and as I like to say, borderline atheism, because when you're a fan of mythology, last thing you want to do is imagine a god, if there is one, striking you down for hubris. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I literally just dabbled in that. So what started happening about like 6, 7 years ago is, yeah, I opened myself up to spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of different things started happening in my life, a lot of synchronicities, which I feel have also opened me up so that those synchronicities are as magical as they can possibly be.
So are you now practicing a specific religion, or you're involved in learning the history of them, or what's your, like, where are you on that?
Well, I describe myself as just someone who is in search of their own path, of their own truth. And what I do my best to do is find resonance with a lot of different materials. It's like in the Tao Te Ching, what Lao Tzu says, you know, when you're searching for truth and you find something that you resonate with, that desire, that yearning for truth is so strong that you're willing to give up whatever resistance is in your path. So that's pretty much my approach. I'll go down different rabbit holes, and in essence, I'm knitting a quilt that can be described as Denise's belief systems.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the gist of it.
I don't know if you answered my question, but keep going.
Yeah, well, the answer is no specific religion.
Got it.
You know, it's literally seeing myself in other people, regardless of whatever religion they are.
Okay.
Because I feel as if when you focus on a universal experience with a person versus establishing a common ground or attempting to jam a square peg in a round hole and force a universal theology,
mm-hmm.
I feel as if sometimes a lot of things get lost in translation when you're trying to connect with people. So for me, it's more about, you know, love, and that's
playing more golf with these people
and playing more golf. Obviously, it's interesting because you learn a lot about someone. I mean, it's not a myth. All right, you learn a lot when you play golf.
Well, give me an example before you go tell the story. Now that you did the backdrop for it, tell me about an experience or two that you had on the golf course that are memorable.
Are memorable as it relates. I have several as it relates to spirituality.
It could be a connection. It could be business. It could be anything. I mean, tell me a good story about
Here's
golf.
a good story.
Yeah.
I've played with probably 4 people who've had hole-in-ones I've been with them. That I've been with them.
Oh wow!
So I don't know. Maybe I'm a good luck charm.
I need to play more golf with you. I've been chasing that hole-in-one.
They've all been short par 3s, but the claim to fame is the hole-in-one.
If it goes in on a par 3 or a par 4, I mean, I had one guy, Mark Van Dyke, tell me a story about a hole-in-one he made in Scotland, and it was first one ever, and it was actually on a par 4. So whether it goes in, and if it goes in with one stroke, that's a hole-in-one. I don't care if it's a short par 3.
No, I hear you.
I don't care if you're on an executive course.
A hole-in-one is a hole-in-one.
Or you have a par 3 course where you have 18 chances at a hole-in-one. I don't care. If it goes in the hole, I'm counting it.
Absolutely, it's a hole-in-one. It's a claim to fame. It's a story.
So you've seen 4 up close and personal.
Correct.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
What was the most ridiculous one?
The most ridiculous one was actually in a course in Boca. I was playing with a buddy of mine from insurance, and the way where the green was located, there was like a slope, so you couldn't really see where the green was at, but you could tell where the flag was at. And we spent about 10 minutes looking for the ball. And it wasn't until my buddy Jerry decides to walk over to the hole, and eureka! We got a little white ball sitting.
And there it is. Okay. Yeah.
So all right. So that's interesting. So a lot of interesting things like that happen. especially since I've been down this path. So case in point to the story.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Well, one of the tools that I've been utilizing in my spiritual journey, especially since we're talking, this is, sports related podcast. I know Aaron Rodgers was in the news a couple years ago. There are other stars, other athletes who've been in the news as it
John
relates.
Rahm and golf. And...
Okay, so the use of ayahuasca, which is
not for that. Okay.
okay,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
it's plant medicine. So oftentimes, because of belief systems, we have to, on a subconscious level, give ourselves a permission slip to do certain things. For me, especially at this point in my journey, ayahuasca has been a permission slip to tap into a spiritual realm.
So, that you're going to have to back up a step because I've heard, obviously, of Aaron Rodgers. I've seen him in TV and talking about this, but I haven't really listened to it. So I'll be the ignorant one here because I really don't know what it is. Is it like smoking the peace pipe in the Native Americans? And what are we talking about here?
Now, from the standpoint that it is considered plant medicine, even though these days there's an abuse with the marijuana, but it's still considered plant medicine.
Okay.
It does serve similar purpose. However, it is different from the standpoint of partaking in an ayahuasca ceremony, which in essence is taking a vine and some flowers and some leaves that are crushed up and originally from the Amazon. The intention there more so is to have a ceremony where you partake in the ayahuasca, and it's actually like a 4 to 5 hour experience where you tap into your inner self.
So, like when people take mushrooms.
Yes, you know what? I've always, because I've taken mushrooms before for the same purpose, plant medicine, and entheogens. That's the coin term now. Ayahuasca is like saying mom. Mushrooms is like the fun aunt.
Okay.
That's the best way I can explain it. It's like when you're looking to peel the proverbial onion of a situation in your life, whatever the case may be, ayahuasca literally gets the mirror and says, look, and shows you your role in it.
Is this like limitless type stuff where you're opening more of your brain up like that drug in that fake movie / TV show?
It is, to a certain extent. It's not that we're opening up our limitless nature. If anything, it's allowing ourselves to gain awareness of it.
Okay. All right. So what did you learn from this experience?
Well, the most recent experience was in Peru.
Okay.
And I went back in July. And how I got there was actually a pretty interesting story.
Okay.
So I end up booking a trip, flies out July 19th. Before I even got to that point, I woke up one Monday morning, June 17th, with this strong desire to go to Peru. I had no clue. Okay.
No friends in Peru, no family in Peru.
Nothing.
Okay.
So
somebody sent you a subliminal message from a travel agency, perhaps?
Who no, that'd be funny. But interestingly enough, since that day, talk about cookies on a phone or on a tablet, pictures of Machu Picchu, Peru, the Peru flag, things of that nature started just...
the algorithm got you.
Yeah, interesting. The algorithm. We consider it more so as it relates to social media.
Well, technology.
And technology, however, but when we start to, and as I'm learning, when we start to see the holographic nature of our reality to a certain extent, and I'm not talking about some computer simulated stuff a la Matrix. It's more alongside of the premise of the Matrix of creating your own reality. It's just pretty interesting how it all plays out. But anyway, so in getting the messages from the algorithm, So that's where I would describe like synchronicities. You know, the universe is going to feed you the little pieces, the little breadcrumbs to make it out of the forest. We just have to be open to it. So for myself, I mean, in that particular case, I had this strong desire, didn't do much of anything with it. Literally a few days later, on a Friday morning, I had insomnia. And I sat by the bed, was reading, was meditating. And interestingly enough, Drew, I can't make this up. Coming from a background where this stuff didn't happen, I can't make this up. I literally started receiving messages in different voices. It was like, go to Peru, go to Peru, go to Peru, go to Peru. And I was like, because for the audience, I'm also a medium. So I was like, all right, guys, I heard you. Show me a sign. I took myself to bed. A few hours later, I'm getting ready to meet up with a buddy of mine. I drop into one of my favorite French bakeries, Rendezvous Cafe for the locals in Fort Lauderdale. And the gentleman at the front recognizes me. So I walk in and he says, "Baguette with a cappuccino." Obviously, I was like, "Well, thank you. Yes, that's me." So he starts talking to me in Spanish. And he says, "You speak Spanish, right?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." He goes, "Where are you from?" I said, "Well, my parents are Cuban." And I said, "Where are you from?" And he goes, "I'm from Lima, Peru." I said, "Interesting." So literally the following Monday, another Peru incident. The following weekend, I manifested from 1 minute to the next. I had a check for several $1,000s to show up in my mailbox. The following week, I had another friend. Mind you, you would think with all these signs, Drew, that I would rush to go book this trip, right? But it's interesting how we humans are. I was like, I don't know if I was waiting for some major sign, but anyway, bottom line, in a matter of like a couple of days.
In your defense, meeting somebody from Peru in South Florida is not like a 1 in a million shot either, right? I mean, we've got people from all over South America, Peru, Brazil, Venezuela. I mean, that's not that big a sign, right? I mean, I'm going to meet somebody from Peru an hour from now when I go to lunch.
Listen, exactly. And that is part of the reason why it wasn't just that one sign. Because oftentimes when we get a hunch as humans, we are so programmed to be logic oriented that we oftentimes take those hunches and take that inspiration, take it around the corner, beat the living daylights out of it because it doesn't make sense. So for me,
that sounds like a lot of work.
You know? So you'd be surprised how many people don't go with the flow. So for me, you're right. That was one, but it wasn't just one. It was literally in a queue. Several signs up into including the seat that I had on the airplane, which because I'm a huge fan of numbers.
All right.
So it's just repeating numbers. But anyway, getting back to the ayahuasca.
All right.
What the ayahuasca and was used for, because it's not just native to Peru. Ayahuasca is considered part of an Amazonian tradition that was practiced by many different countries. Okay, my first experience was actually through a Brazilian organization, and it just so happens that this one was Peru, the South American. But it all pertains to the Incas, and the Incas would utilize ayahuasca, which naturally has DMT, to activate the pineal gland so that they can tune in, they can connect, whatever you want to describe it. It was just more of a spiritual path so that they can feel connected with all things and understand the beauty behind the madness, which is this human experience. Okay? What has happened, though, with ayahuasca, I feel, and this is Denise's personal opinion, is as people start to go through their own spiritual journey and they start going within to do shadow work. It could be an athlete who just wants to perform as best as possible. What emotional resistance is keeping that person from being at their optimum? It could be a program when they were 7 years old because dad always told them they were not good enough. It could be an issue with mom. It could be an issue with a spouse, that an estranged spouse. It could be a number of things. Okay? Everybody's experience is different. But what's happened these days is that folks who are on their path because they just want to feel better, and all of these things that I've described, all this emotional resistance, oftentimes we let that serve as a barrier to connecting. That's why when a lot of folks first try ayahuasca, they go through the experience of that you hear about. The ceremony with the purging, the vomiting, the incessant, bowel move, diarrhea, the crying, the yelling, the
None of that
screaming.
sounds any fun at all to me.
Okay, it's for some people. Thankfully, that hasn't been my experience. However, for some people, it is part of their experience because they're learning to reconcile with all aspects of their emotional self in order to feel self-love. You follow?
Okay.
For me, that was part of my initial journey with ayahuasca. Now, in Peru, I don't know if it was a different brew. I don't know if I was just in a different part of my journey. The 3 sessions that I had over there were completely different. And they served various purposes. Like, for example, the first experience that I had, Drew, I'm waiting for the ayahuasca to kick in. You start with a meditation, you have shamans. It's very ceremonial, very ritualistic. There's live music, and it's a very intimate setting. You have 3 shamans, you had the staff, and there are about 9 participants, myself included. Once you take the ayahuasca, it varies. It could take 30 minutes, it can take an hour before it affects.
Mm-hmm.
It took me about 45 minutes, and that's after 2 shots. So first shot after 30 minutes, don't feel much of anything. Think of it like a little espresso shot.
Okay.
Didn't feel much of anything. Second shot, I take it. All of a sudden, I hear a voice in my head. Because that's one of my spiritual gifts. I'm very clairaudient.
Okay.
So I hear voices. Okay, so that's part of the gift as it relates to mediumship, to hearing different things. And it's interesting because even with my experience of hearing voices, it helps that I sat on the board for Mental Health America and that my buddy was the president. Because I'm like, when I first started listening to things and hearing things throughout my spiritual process, I called out to him and I said, what is going on here? And he was instrumental, person to say, no, you're not going crazy. Some people just have a gift. And that was one of my gifts. So, but anyway, I start hearing this voice, and the voice is, Denise, you harness the power to create worlds. Why choose to be a victim? Allow yourself to be the woman you know you are. You're a divine goddess who creates in love.
So does everybody hear voices?
Some people see things.
Okay.
Yeah, I had some people next to me who there was so much emotional resistance to what the ayahuasca wanted to show them that they started throwing up 20 minutes in, and they had to disappear. They couldn't take it. And then there was a young gentleman from South Korea. Interestingly enough, he's a quantum physicist, PhD, but he's also a Buddhist. And he sat next to me, and we were just breathing it out. He and I were the ones that connected most with the medicine. When you allow yourself to understand that everything is you and you are everything, and there's nothing that you need to purge because you were a collection of experiences that led us to today, and everything is for the purpose of self-love. It's like, what part of yourself do you want to get rid of?
So is there any is there a downside, like side effects or negative effects at all, or you didn't experience any of those?
I personally didn't experience any physical side effects. This isn't necessarily the recommended pathway
All right.
for everyone. It's more along the lines of, if it resonates with you, it resonates with you. If it calls you, like when
Mhm.
you keep and there's a curiosity, explore it. You know, and even then, there is a vetting process that the organization that I partook of, the ayahuasca in Peru, there there was a vetting process because
You
the
vetted them, you mean?
no, I
They
vetted
vet
them obviously,
Well, but they vetted
but
you as
then
well.
also they vet all of the participants. Okay, because of the fact that it is, a lot of people have either they're not physically healthy enough to take it, they could be on some type of medication that they can't, you know, stop taking. They may not necessarily have the purest of intentions. Some people may approach it with, "Oh, I just want to try DMT,"
Mm.
you know. And then also, um, as it relates to the integration. So we talked about physical, we talked about the emotional. Some people, let's say they do get in and they are able to partake of the ceremony. The whole point is to understand that ayahuasca nor any other psychedelic medicine is the answer,
Mm-hmm.
Drew. It's more along the lines of, if you're interested in finding out what you're not seeing in a situation in your life, it'll show you and it'll be a guide.
Well, I
So,
gotta imagine people are worried about being taken advantage of by the shaman while they're under their medication or drug or whatever you want to call it, and
and
I'm guessing that it's not foolproof and bad stuff happens
that
sometimes
that
too.
that apps. Listen, I've heard
Horror story,
horror
I'm sure.
stories. I feel there's two things I'd like to say to that. Um, Number one, I feel as if everyone who is interested in partaking of some type of psychedelic medicine as part of their spiritual practice, mental health, speak with your doctor, vet the provider. And part of the reason why a lot of people travel outside of the United States is because here in the United States, unless it's part of a religious ceremony, which I believe there are only two organizations that have that protection under the First Amendment,
Mm.
ayahuasca is not easily available.
Okay.
Okay, it has to be a part of a religious ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's why the majority of the ceremonies are overseas. So yes, do your research, um, and it's not something that should be taken. It's not a decision that you take lightly, because like I was mentioning before, the integration is important. Once you've been shown, and you feel a difference within you. Once you leave that environment, what are you going to do with the information?
All right. Well, let's
Yeah.
on that note, let's shift gears a little
Mm-hmm.
bit because the reason why we even said like, "Hey, when are you going to come on the On Par podcast?" is because you told me that you started or are starting your own
Yes.
podcast,
Yes.
and this has been something that's been kind of itching. It's an itch you had to scratch at some point because you had told me this a while before that. So what's going on with the podcast? What's it about? Obviously, you have some really interesting philosophies and background of knowledge, and you could go a million different ways with it, I'm sure. But what are you trying to do?
Interesting. That was a perfect segue, because yes, started a podcast.
And the name of it
The
is
name of the podcast is Alchemic Healings.
Alchemic Healings. Okay.
Okay, healing starts from within, and the whole purpose of the podcast, and also the book that I'm writing, same title, is I hope to inspire people to take that initial step down the path of searching for self-joy, self-love, empowering, and understanding the power so that they can understand the power that they have in creating their reality.
So in other words, it's just like our podcast, because you're going to tell them to play more golf because that's how they get happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As Joseph Campbell says, follow your bliss, and the universe creates windows where there were once only walls. So if playing golf makes you happy, well, there's a reason why a lot of deals are closed on the golf course.
There you have it. Just clip that one clip out. That's going to be our new motto for this podcast. So, well, Denise, it's been a pleasure. You're welcome back anytime. I look forward to coming on your podcast.
Absolutely.
If there's a place for me. And give us the name one more time so we can tell our audience to check you out.
Absolutely. Alchemic Healings.
Alchemic Healings.
Yeah, we've already started recording.
Okay.
We're pretty much going to record a big chunk of episodes and then just start putting it out there.
So 2025,
yeah,
early 2025,
early 2025, right. And then the book as well.
Okay, book's almost done then.
The book's almost done.
All right,
the book's almost done, and again, it's simplifying spiritual alchemy. We all deserve a better life.
Well, if you need somebody to put it on an audio book, I think I'm gonna, farm myself out for a side hustle.
I would love that.
And we can create the Alchemic Healings as read by Drew D. Alberto.
Oh my goodness, I would love to hear that.
I'll put it on my resume. So, well, thank you for listening to the On Par podcast, and we'll catch you again next week.
All right, thank you, Drew.